All right, 112, folks. So, welcome back to Unit 1. Welcome back to, somewhere around chapter 17. Really, what it is, I was talking about and continuing to talk about Martin Luther and the Reformation. Listen, he does not plan to start his own religion. He wants to fix Catholicism. I mean, and boy, is a devout Catholic. He wants to fix it. He has some disagreements. He's going to go ahead and post these disagreements in the theses and say, hey, listen, I think, based on my reading, this is where the church has gone awry and we should fix this. Church fathers do not agree. What this does is they want him to recant. He refuses to recant. He continues to preach. Now, a couple of things happen. Technology is huge, folks. Technology is huge. We're going to look at the introduction of the movable type of press, okay? Thanks to a few folks, but it's a movable type press at this particular point, which allows the distribution and the printing of things like his sermons that are going to come up. So they're going to have a farther reach. And because he has a farther and faster reach, he's going to be more successful than some of the other people who had some doctrinal differences with the church, who did not survive. And there's many that did not survive at this particular point. But he's going to take his ideals, continue to preach. He's going to develop a following. And these followings are going to eventually known as Lutherans, right? They start here as Protestants. Right? Protestants. If you are Christian and not Catholic, then you're a Protestant because you protest what the church did at that particular point. Well, he's going to start what becomes a Protestant movement. He's not the only one. You're going to see John Calvin, who's going to come up with the Christian Institutes, right? He's going to come up with what becomes a Calvinist doctrine of simplifying this whole religion thing, doing away with certain elements of it, getting rid of the statuary and all this. His movement is going to be pushed more over in the edges of France. Luther is going to be right here in the heart of what we think of as more modern Germany at this particular point. What happens is this, is the Holy Roman Empire, right? The Holy Roman Emperor, Philip II, at this particular point, is a devout defender of the faith of the church. And so the empire is going to come down on the believers of Lutheran, and we have what becomes the 30 Years' War. And the 30 Years' War is not a war. It's a series of battles, a series of wars that stretch throughout different regions of Europe, on different battlefronts in Europe, through different contestants in Europe at that particular point. But what it is, it's the wars of religion. Okay, the wars of religion. And it's huge because it's going to consume Europe at this particular point. And so what you're not going to see is the people that are involved in these wars of religion. You're not going to see them taking part on the expansion. You're not going to see them seeking further empire and other places at this particular point because they're consumed. Okay, and that's a huge part of what's going on. What you have to realize is that Luther is going to preach this, that he's going to preach his movement, that John Calvin is going to preach his. He's going to be towards France. There's going to be a couple other members. What will happen is John Calvin will eventually move. He will move and he will be invited to Switzerland, the Swiss cantons. Calvinism, if you are in France, which is really the heart of it at this particular point, the Calvinists here in France are called Huguenots. Huguenot, right? It looks like Huguenots, but it's Huguenot. And what you have to know is the Huguenots are not wanted in some places, and the Huguenots are eventually, they're going to be persecuted and driven out of France at some point along the line. The Huguenots are also more country folk, not city folk, right? And what happens is you're going to see this huge movement in France. It's going to, again, sweep up, right, into the Swiss cantons. And what will happen is John Calvin will take over a chunk of the government via the church in Switzerland, that the movement of Lutheranism in the Holy Roman Empire, they're going to come to loggerheads. They're going to go like this. It's like, listen, we've got to quit killing each other in the name of Christ. You can't really do that. And what will happen is we're going to end up with a series of agreements. And the series of agreements is real simple. It's going to allow the existence of the alternative church. It's going to say, well, look, we realize that many of you people here in the Holy Roman Empire don't go with straight Catholicism anymore. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a doctrine of ruling. The doctrine of ruling is the prince will choose the faith. And so the doctrine of ruling says, as the prince goes, so shall everyone else. And so what will happen is each of the separate princes for each of the small princedoms, kingdoms, will choose whether they want to go Lutheran and whether they want to go Catholic. And everyone will go that way. And if you don't like it, then you need to move to one of the other districts, to one of the other small countries in that particular area. And they're going to choose to coexist. Well, listen, if I'm the prince here and I want to go Catholic, then from now on everything's going to be Catholic. I'm going to absorb all the church properties. This, over the 30 years, there's a lot of divisions. What I think is interesting is this, is they come to an agreement to allow the Lutheran Church to exist, to allow, in some cases, you're going to come to a draw for John Calvin and the Calvinist Church, the Huguenot, to exist over there. You're going to allow the Catholic Church to exist, but all of those churches are going to try to get rid of the real rebels. They're going to try to get rid of the Baptists and the Anabaptists because they do things that are just, too far out there as far as everyone else is concerned, which I think is interesting since, we kind of live here in the South and Baptists are among the most popular. Well, here's the issue. Because this religious strife is happening, okay? People are going to want to leave certain places and go other places. They're going to be driven from their country, from their area. They're going to be pushed, and part of that push is going to result in the movement and the expansion and the colonization westward. Now, in addition to the Lutheran movement, what's going to happen is you're going to have a movement in England, Great Britain, and that England movement there is going to be led by a guy named Henry VIII. Yeah, that Henry VIII, the one with multiple wives, right? He is a defender of the Catholic faith. He's gotten that title from the Pope. The Pope loves the man. Well, what's going to happen is Henry is actually the spare. He's not the heir. His brother Arthur is the king. And so Henry is the playboy. What's going to happen is Arthur is going to die relatively young. Arthur is going to be king. You're King Arthur. Great title, right? He's going to get married. He's going to go ahead and marry a princess from Spain, right? Because what they want to do is they're going to marry between the two royal houses to guarantee a treaty, right? To guarantee a treaty. And then Arthur is going to die before he can be properly married, to put it nicely, right? Before it is consummated. And Henry's going to take over, and since he's going to take the title over, what he wants to do is he wants to take over the diplomatic ties, which means he needs to marry his brother's wife. There are rules against that in the Catholic religion, right? Even though his brother died, he's still not allowed to marry his wife. He's going to have to talk to the Pope and say, Pop, this is what I need. I need to be able to do this. The marriage was never consummated, right? They never, right? And so she is pure, so I want to go ahead and marry her. Pope is going to give him a special dispensation to go ahead and get married, to go ahead and marry his brother's wife, and then he's going to do that. They're going to have a child or two, right? A child or two. But the problem is he can't have a male heir. Well, listen, and the current rules for England, only a male can go ahead and take the throne. And so what he wants is he wants a boy. And so what will happen is his wife cannot give birth to a male child that survives. And so he's going to seek a remedy, and the remedy is going to be seeking a different wife. And so what he's going to have to do is try to put her aside. He's going to pursue a divorce, and with that he's going to run into the Catholic Church. So I'll be back. We'll talk about the Protestant Reformation in England.